Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling guilty, even though you couldn't explain why? Maybe someone asked just one question, and suddenly you started doubting yourself. You replayed the conversation in your head, wondering if you were selfish, ungrateful, or simply a bad person. Here's the surprising part. Sometimes guilt is a healthy signal that helps us correct a mistake, but sometimes it's triggered by questions that quietly push us to ignore our own values just to keep someone else happy. By the end of this video, you'll recognize 5 common questions that often create unnecessary guilt, understand why they work, and learn how Stoic philosophy and modern psychology can help you respond with confidence instead of emotional pressure. Let's start with the first one. Question number 1. After everything I've done for you, imagine a friend asks for another favor. You're exhausted, your schedule is full, and you politely say no. Instead of accepting your answer, they look at you and say, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" In that moment, your focus shifts. You're no longer thinking about whether saying no was reasonable. You're thinking about everything they've ever done for you. Psychologists have long studied the norm of reciprocity. In healthy relationships, returning kindness helps build trust and cooperation. But that same instinct can sometimes be used to make us feel obligated, even when a request is unfair or poorly timed. Think about it. Gratitude is healthy. Feeling permanently indebted is something very different. The Stoics encouraged a different perspective. Marcus Aurelius believed that generosity should come from virtue, not from pressure or expectation. A kind act loses something important when it's treated like a debt that must always be repaid. Before changing your answer, pause and ask yourself, am I saying yes because it's the right thing to do, or because I feel trapped by guilt? That one question can reveal the difference between genuine gratitude and emotional pressure. And once you notice that pattern, you'll start hearing another question that's even harder to ignore. It doesn't ask you to repay a favor. Instead, it makes you question whether you truly care about someone at all. Question number 2. If you really cared about me? At first, this question sounds like it's about love or loyalty. But listen closely. It's not asking what you believe is right. It's asking you to prove your feelings by doing what someone else wants. Imagine a family member asks you for something you simply can't do. When you hesitate, they quietly say, "If you really cared about me, you'd do it." In an instant, the conversation changes. It's no longer about the request. It becomes a test of your love. Psychology suggests that people naturally want to protect their closest relationships. That's one reason emotional pressure from family members, close friends, or partners can be especially difficult to recognize. When affection and obligation become tangled together, it's easy to mistake guilt for love. The Stoics saw love differently. Real care wasn't measured by blind obedience. It was measured by wisdom, honesty, and acting with virtue, even when those choices were difficult. So before you give in, ask yourself, does saying no mean I care less, or does it simply mean I'm protecting a healthy boundary? That pause gives you the chance to choose with reason instead of reacting from guilt, and that's exactly what Stoicism teaches. Your choices should come from your values, not from emotional pressure. Now let's move to the third question. This one doesn't challenge your love. It challenges your identity. Question number 3. Why are you being so selfish? Few words sting more than being called selfish. Most of us want to be known as kind, generous, and dependable. So when someone uses that label, our first instinct is often to defend ourselves or change our decision just to prove them wrong. But protecting your own time, energy, or well-being doesn't automatically make you selfish. Psychology reminds us that healthy boundaries are an important part of healthy relationships. Saying no to one request doesn't mean you're rejecting the person. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our control, our choices, our values, and our actions, not on every opinion someone else has about us. So the next time someone asks, "Why are you being so selfish?" pause before answering. Instead, ask yourself, am I truly harming someone, or am I simply protecting something that's important to me? That moment of reflection can completely change your response, because the next question doesn't attack your character. It quietly convinces you that everyone else is doing better than you. Question number 4. Everyone else managed to help. You've probably heard a version of this before. Your brother made time for us. Or maybe everyone else stayed late. Why can't you? At first, it sounds harmless, just a comparison. But if you've ever been on the receiving end of those words, you know they rarely feel harmless. Almost instantly, you're no longer thinking about whether your decision is reasonable. Instead, you're wondering why you're the only one saying no. Psychologists call this social comparison. We naturally compare ourselves with the people around us. Throughout history, belonging to a group helped people survive, so it's understandable that standing apart can still feel uncomfortable today. But uncomfortable doesn't mean wrong. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself not to let the crowd decide what was right. A wise decision isn't measured by how many people agree with it. It's measured by whether it reflects good judgment and strong values. So the next time someone says, "Everyone else did it," pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I changing my mind because it matches my values, or because I don't want to feel different? That simple question creates space between emotion and action, because following the crowd isn't always the right choice, and making the right choice doesn't always mean everyone will approve. Now we come to the 5th and final question. It isn't loud, it isn't aggressive. In fact, it's often spoken in a calm voice, and that's exactly why it can be so powerful. Question number 5. Are you really going to disappoint me? Imagine you've finally made a decision that's right for your future. Maybe you've accepted a new job. Maybe you've decided to move to another city. Or maybe, for the first time, you've set a healthy boundary. Then someone you deeply respect looks at you and quietly asks, "Are you really going to disappoint me?" No shouting, no anger, just one sentence. Yet it can feel heavier than an entire argument. Research suggests that people often anticipate feelings of guilt before making difficult decisions, especially when those decisions affect someone they care about. Sometimes we change their minds, not because they've done something wrong, but because they don't want to see someone else disappointed. The Stoics offered a different perspective. Epictetus taught that while we should always try to act with kindness and integrity, we can't control another person's emotions. Our responsibility is to make thoughtful, ethical choices, not to carry the weight of every feeling someone else has. Compassion matters, empathy matters, but someone else's disappointment is not automatic proof that you've made the wrong decision. And once you understand that, you'll notice something surprising. These 5 questions may sound completely different, but underneath, they're all pulling on the same emotional instincts. Now think back to the question we started with. Why can one simple sentence leave you feeling guilty for hours? Because every one of these 5 questions is aimed at something that's actually good about you. Your kindness, your loyalty, your empathy, your sense of responsibility, your desire to do the right thing. Those aren't weaknesses. They're qualities that help build strong relationships and a meaningful life. The problem begins when those qualities are used to influence your decisions through guilt instead of honest communication. That's why Stoicism isn't about becoming cold or shutting down your emotions. It's about understanding your emotions before they start making your decisions for you. The next time guilt shows up, don't rush to apologize. Don't rush to change your answer. Instead, pause and ask yourself 4 simple questions. What actually happened? Am I truly responsible for this? What evidence suggests I've done something wrong? Am I acting from my values or from emotional pressure? That brief pause can change everything. It creates space between the emotion you feel and the choice you make. Healthy guilt has an important purpose. It reminds us to take responsibility when we've genuinely made a mistake and encourages us to repair the harm we've caused. But guilt created by unrealistic expectations or emotional pressure deserves to be questioned before it shapes your decisions. The goal isn't to care less about other people. The goal is to care for others without losing yourself in the process. Marcus Aurelius often reflected that our judgments, not other people's opinions, play a powerful role in shaping our peace of mind. More than 2,000 years later, that idea still speaks to people around the world. Real strength isn't never feeling guilty. Real strength is knowing the difference between guilt that helps you grow and guilt that's trying to control you. So let me leave you with one final question. Which of these 5 questions have you heard the most? Share your answer in the comments. Your experience might help someone else recognize a pattern they've never noticed before. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more practical lessons from Stoicism, psychology, and self-improvement. And before you leave, watch the next video on your screen about setting healthy boundaries without losing your kindness. It builds perfectly on today's lesson, and I think you'll find it just as valuable.